Julian was really an incredible help on the tracks he did. I had a lot of faith in what he was doing. He's really a good music man, and he had some good songs. I mean, he has proven songs, and I really liked the songs. I wanted it to sound like a Glen Campbell album. And he says, if you don't like something or you don't do something, you know, you got to speak up. I said, don't worry, I will. You know, it just seemed like that God gave me a knack to find songs that fit me. I find songs that fits Glen Campbell, and then do it like I do it. To find all that great material and from all those great artists, you know, like John Lennon, man. Grow old with me. That's fabulous. I told my wife that, and she said, "You're already old." I said, "Yeah, but I'm gonna stay around enough to try to sing some more, because I like to sing and play." It was Carol Kay had such a great sound. She had a six-string bass, but it wasn't really a bass. And that's what I played on all that stuff. Bishop Lyman and Galveston, all of them. There's an old Dan Electro guitar is what it was, but it was, it was like a bass. So it was six-string bass is what it was. We'd mess with the tone, so to make sure it was just, you know, the right treble, the right bass, the right middle, just to get that sound. And
basically, this Glen Campbell record is something that I've dreamed of doing for a number of years. I've been thinking about the songs for a long time because as a staff producer for Capitol Records, which is what I was up until 2 years ago, it's something that I was working on in the back of my mind and something I wanted to present to the label to do. You know, because he's a real song guy. I mean, he loves great melodies and he likes to sing. I think that's the one thing about a lot of people who came up in his era, especially singers. They didn't do well unless they could really relate to the lyric. I mean, it was a big part of it. You know, these days, people will sing, you know, anything that just to get, because it's got a great beat or the attitude of the song is more important than necessarily, you know, what the lyric says and what it's all about. And he feeds off that incredibly. So it's and work with Glen on it and do what we do, which was basically make a record with Glen that really is kind of a lot stylistically is a nod to those old records like Wichita Lineman and Galveston and Gentle on My Mind. By the time I get to Phoenix, we definitely paid homage to the, you know, Al DeLore arrangements and the Jimmy Webb songs and Glen's arrangements and his vocal style that he did, and he brought so much to those records as a guitar player, a singer, and he was taking a chance. I mean, a lot of these songs, like I said, if he sat down and listened to a lot of these songs, it's not that he doesn't love or respect these artists, but they were cut and done in a way by these artists that were those artists, not really necessarily what would be a Glen Campbell record. That's why all these songs were rewritten, you know, to make it a Glen Campbell record. I wanted to sound like an amazing new record, but arrangement-wise and with Glen and with the arrangements that we did musically and how we kind of put the songs together, string arrangements, horns, the musicians and how they played the stuff was absolutely, you know, kind of like a, you know, we love what you did back in the day. This is a modern-day version of what that is. That's what we tried to do. Whether we did that or not, it's up to you all out there, but that's what we tried to do. This wasn't about trying to make Glen some sort of, you know, singing these weird songs that aren't about him or, you know, doing these kind of contemporary kind of weird arrangements or weird sounds that don't necessarily, it's everything that he feels comfortable doing. That's what he's been doing his whole life. So I was thinking about doing a lot of these, you know, harmonies myself or with Glen or maybe with some other possible guests that were kicked around, but as soon as I heard them sing, I mean, it's perfect. I mean, there's nothing better than family harmony. If it's in the blood and they're together as one, which they are, I mean, they just sound, you know, great together. I mean, it sounds perfect, and you're not going to do any better than that with anyone.
Most of Glen's hits, his major hits, were songs that had been recorded by other people first and then being reinterpreted by Glen in his own style. And now these new songs that he's doing are songs of rock artists that, when I listen to them, they sound like Glen Campbell songs. So, and I think I'm listening to something that was recorded 30, 40 years ago, but more modern, more up to date, yet Glen still sounds like Glen Campbell to me. Glen is a Arkansas boy at heart, and I think always will be. He always had that homespun humor and feeling of being just like everybody else. Glen doesn't consider himself a star. He still doesn't consider himself a star. He doesn't have that burning desire, he never has, to be in the spotlight.
The idea of him doing a record like this, to me, makes sense because it would just show that he wasn't just what some people want to maybe think of him as when they think of those big hits, that he had a very broad musical diversity to him. And what better way to show people now that, as opposed to just telling what he can do, is to actually say, look, I can take a song that you all know in a whole different genre, or a different genre than even what he has done, you know, the way the record's sounding, it's a great vibe, and I think it's going to open people's eyes up to just how talented he is.
You know, and I grew up listening to him, you know, through my parents. My dad and mom had a great, you know, record collection, everything from Glen Campbell to Stevie Wonder and everything in between, and on the outsides of that as well. He was one of the pioneers of mixing other influences. So it wasn't just a country guitar style, you know, like a finger-picking style. He brought in, you know, outside influences, other music, a little bit of jazz harmony and that world into what he was doing.
I came from Cuba when I was 15 years old, man, and I remember turning on the TV, and this guy had this TV show. It was Glen Campbell, the Glen Campbell show. And also, it was amazing that what a great guitar player he was, too, or he is. So, to me, it's not. To me, he doesn't just seem like he's just like, okay, he's an artist, you know. It's like, this is an artist that's a great musician, you know.
There's an ease of melody. He can take strong melody from a whole collection of different writers and internalize it, and then put it back out to the public, to the listener, whether it's through the guitar, whether he's playing a lyrical melody on the guitar, or with his voice. And that's a whole other art and skill unto itself.